Thanks for joining me on episode 475 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Annie Purdue-Olson from Leading Better Together. I encourage you to find the courage to lead in ministry well. And one way to be inspired to do that is by listening to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mater.
You know, the truth is, you probably have the money to do just about anything unless you really are in a situation where income is the major problem. And that does happen. But more often than not, the people that I find struggling in this area make a very good income. They make $50, $60, $70, $80, even $100 or $150,000 a year.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about impacting the world through stewarding your treasures, I talk with you about recognizing if your money is out of alignment, why we often allow our money to dictate to us instead of us telling our money what to do, and how you can get your money back into alignment with who you really are.
As we talk about stewarding your treasures, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without costing yourself an extra dime? Turns out you can. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show. If you enjoy the show when you're ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
So this entire week, we've been talking about getting different parts of your life into alignment with who and what you're really called to be. And funnily enough, the one that we've got today is actually the one that I see the most often from folks. And this is when our money is out of alignment. And the funny thing is, we often end up doing this. We end up spending money on things that really and truly at our core are not that important to who we are. We end up spending money on just entertainment, on fun things, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with spending money on an experience or spending money to enjoy life or buying Netflix. One thing that people often confuse is getting your money into alignment and kind of living as a person in a cave where you only come out on triple coupon Tuesdays and you never really focus on what your true values are, and you never pay attention to how you spend your money. See, that's the biggest problem and the biggest sign that your money might be out of alignment. When you don't know how you spend your money, and you don't know why you spend it certain ways, and you haven't spent the time and the energy to identify what's really important to you, what your core values are, then all too often your money ends up getting out of alignment, not through any sort of misaction on your part, but just by the sheer inertia of the world happening to you. This is how you can often look up after several years and you got $50,000 or $60,000 in credit card debt and you don't even really know what you spent it on. Most people don't put a couple of vacations to Hawaii on their credit cards. Instead, it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's 7 or 8 trips to McDonald's. It's a couple of electronic devices at Best Buy. It's whatever you're spending on from time to time, and slowly over time it eats away. And then when you look up one day and you see things like a large debt, you see things like the fact that you're still sort of spending your money reflexively without really thinking about it. You're still not saving for your long-term goals like retirement or college funds, or even just purchasing a new house or a new car. you're constantly chasing happiness by spending money on stuff, then your money is probably out of alignment. And what's happening to you is you're beginning to allow your money to tell you what you can do instead of telling your money what it's supposed to be doing for you. You become a passive participant in your own life. You begin to say things like, we don't have the money to do that. You know, the truth is you probably have the money to do just about anything unless you really are in a situation where income is the major problem. And that does happen. But more often than not, the people that I find struggling in this area make a very good income. They make $50, $60, $70, $80, even $100 or $150,000 a year. But the problem is that instead of controlling that money and making sure that that money is leveraging and doing the things that they want it to do and is helping them live out their priorities and their values and who they truly are, they're a slave to the debt and to the money instead. They haven't aligned their money with their larger values. So how do you actually experience this and then get it back into alignment? And the answer is, it often takes some time. See, often the biggest problem is people will come in and they want the magic pill. They want to be able to wave a wand and fix everything. They've got several $100,000 in student loan debt over here. They've got something else over there that they're struggling with. They've got credit card debt. They've got a car that they are financing, and then they want to be able to save for retirement and leave a legacy to their kids and help their kids pay for college. And they simply feel trapped because they don't have the money. It's going to take some time to fix that. The steps are pretty simple. First, you got to identify where your money is going. This is doing an audit. This is sitting down and looking at all of your spending for the last couple of months, 3 months, 6 months, 2 months, 1 month, whatever it is. Or if you've never tracked your money, start tracking it today and pay attention to where your money is going. And then you need to do some soul searching about what do you really want your money to do for you? What are the most important things to you? And then you begin to bring those two things into alignment. If you discover you don't have enough income, you focus on the income side. But realize you usually have two sides to the equation and have to focus on both, because it is about the outgo and the income. And then the key is to make those numbers different where your income is higher than your outgo and do something smart with the money between the two. That's the real key to getting your money into alignment. Because as you begin to work to get out of debt, as you begin to work to control your spending, as you begin to work to get your money into alignment with your values and your priorities, and you whittle away at things and you begin to increase your income, you begin to decrease your expenses, you begin to pay down debt and free up cash flow, what you'll discover is suddenly you have enough money to do the things that you really want to do. The problem was never about how much money you had. It was about the fact that you allowed your money to get out of alignment with who you were called to be. And in doing that, the money began to tell you what you could do instead of you telling your money what it could do for you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of treasures, you can sign up for our treasures tips by going to inspiredstewardship.com/treasures or text in the U.S. 44222 treasures tips. And we'll send you 5 weeks of our best tips on stewarding your treasures. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.